And starting, and so you got the loading screen on the bottom left, so it's loading up right now. Boom. Top left of your camera.
It says we're live?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, everybody out there, we're going to get started here in just a little bit. We'll give people a little bit of time to get cued in. So we're trying it a little bit different today. We're going to just have a little discussion. There's so much stuff going on in the news that I thought we'd just sit here and talk a little bit about history. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about COVID-19 and immune systems. In a previous broadcast 2 weeks ago, we talked about the immune system, the modern immune system. So you can watch that again on our YouTube channel, Dr. Dennis Cathcart on YouTube. And I'll refer to that a couple times today. Is our sound good?
I'll double check here.
All right.
If you get anybody logging in anytime soon.
So it says comment moderation here.
Yeah.
I might be able to see people comment.
So go ahead and click here.
Okay.
So right now we have turned on comment. Oh, that's just telling the requirements of people.
All right.
But yeah, you'll be able to see comments there.
Okay.
If you guys can hear Dr. Cathcart and I, please go ahead and just shoot a little thumbs up or something like that, or a comment here on the comment section to let us know.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll have a little discussion here. And then when we're done, we'll post this on our YouTube channel. It'll also be on our Facebook channel, and don't we put it on Instagram as well, Devin?
Yes, sir.
So it'll be posted. So if you're getting bitty, we just had a thing from Paige, but it went away. Oh, she says, I'm here. Scarlett Taylor. Hello, Dennis. Hi, Scarlett. Good to see you. I guess I'm not seeing you.
So can they hear us okay then?
Can you hear okay, everybody? Karen, Scarlett?
Yeah, we're good.
Darla says thumbs up.
All right. Get you started.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I thought tonight we'd talk a little bit about some things that have happened in history. I did a little research in preparation for tonight. All right. So a little bit about a chiropractic history. A lot of you already know that chiropractic started in 1895 by Dr. Daniel David Palmer, and he was a magnetic healer. He was studying the effects of magnetic fields on the nervous system, and he just kind of stumbled onto chiropractic because he met a janitor in the building where he was that told him that he had lost most of his hearing after falling down the flight of stairs. And so he thought, wow, so maybe a trauma. And he started thinking about, he was already studying the nervous system. And he thought, I'm going to figure out how to fix his spine and see if fixing his nervous system helps his hearing. And so he figured out how to do that. The way he referred to it, as he said, I racked his spine back into place and his hearing came back. And so at first, initially, he thought he had discovered a treatment for deafness, but he soon realized that he hadn't discovered a treatment for deafness, but he started learning more about the the nervous system in conjunction with spinal issues. And chiropractic was born in 1895. He initially thought that keeping this a secret and keeping it in the family was the thing to do, but he soon learned that he needed to share this with the world. And his son, B.J. Palmer, kind of took it from there, and they started a chiropractic school, and the rest is history. So to talk a little bit about that history, since it did just start in 1895, when the flu epidemic of 1918 rolled around, chiropractic was just in its infancy. And the history of that really helped out the chiropractic profession. I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, but I'm just going to real quickly talk a little bit about some history. This is a book that was published in 1978, and it's chapter 6 of chiropractic history in the book that was published. And this is just some of the things that happened as a result of that flu epidemic. Let me just read a little bit about the 1918 influenza epidemic. They call it the Spanish flu. It swept across the world, bringing death and fear to homes in every land. Disease and pestilence, especially the epidemics, are little understood even now, and many of the factors that spread there are still mysterious shadows. But in 1917 and 1918, almost nothing was known about prevention, protection, treatment, or cure of influenza. The whole world stood at its mercy, or lack of mercy. Many people died. Statistically, worldwide, if you caught this influenza virus, you had a 1 in 10 chance of dying. And the statistics showed that out, that worldwide it was 1 in 10 passed away. In the United States, where hygiene must have been a little bit better, it was 1 in 15 died. But let me just read you a few things that once it was all said and done and the numbers were tallied, what they learned. In Davenport, Iowa, now, of course, Davenport, Iowa is where the first chiropractic school was started by D.D. Palmer and B.J. Palmer. So there was quite a few chiropractors there. But in Davenport, Iowa, here was the numbers that were reported for this influenza. 50 medical doctors treated 4,953 cases of influenza with 274 deaths. So in that same city, 150 chiropractors, including students and faculty at the Palmer School of Chiropractic, treated 1,635 patients with only 1 death. All right. In the state of Iowa, medical doctors treated 93,590 patients with 6,116 deaths, a loss of 1 patient in every 15, pretty consistent with the nation. In the same state of Iowa, excluding those numbers we just talked about, in Davenport, 4,735 patients were treated by chiropractors with a loss of only 6 cases. So that's 1 out of every 789 patients. A little bit better than 1 out of 15, wouldn't you think? Now, national figures that were reported: 1,142 chiropractors treated 46,394 patients for influenza during the 1918 flu epidemic. They lost 54 patients, which was 1 out of every 886 patients. That's pretty good. Reports show that in New York City during the influenza epidemic in 1918, out of every 10,000 cases of medically treated influenza, 950 died. In every 10,000 pneumonia cases medically treated, 6,400 died. Wow, that's over 50%. These figures are exact. They were reported in the disease. In the same epidemic, under chiropractic, only 25 patients died of influenza out of every 10,000 cases treated, and only 100 patients died of pneumonia out of every 10,000. Wow, that's 1%. This was striking. So Under medical methods, so influenza, 10,000 and 10,900 and okay, I see here what its causes of death. Okay, more of the same. Okay. In the same epidemic, reports show that chiropractors in Oklahoma treated 3,490 cases of influenza with only 7 deaths. But the best part of this is in Oklahoma, there is a clear record showing that chiropractors were called in on 233 cases where the medical doctors had cared for the patients and gave up on them as lost patients. The chiropractors saved all these patients except for 25. So out of 233 cases that were left for dead, only 25 of them died once they began seeing chiropractors. So the interesting thing about this, I mean, these statistics are fantastic when you think about the contrast of 1 out of 15 dying under medical care. Why did the chiropractors have such great success? And it's really just all about the nervous system and the immune system. The chiropractic adjustments help the immune system so much. And it became obvious during this epidemic. And of course, with chiropractic in its infancy, it really put chiropractic on the map. And many people were saved by chiropractic. And here's what the last bit of this chapter says. It says, dedicated chiropractors came into the profession in increasing numbers, and they had a sure sense of certainty, heady conviction, and a great willingness to fight for the cause. One of the things that I want to talk about this evening is how much chiropractic has had to fight for acceptance, fight for the right to practice. With this 1918 influenza epidemic that chiropractic was so successful in treating, they became well known as the best treatment for any virus. So long before we were back pain specialists, we were actually very well known for our success during this epidemic. And with all these people that were saved by chiropractic, many of them went on to become chiropractors, and many of their families, people that had seen what had happened, went to chiropractic school. So within the next 10 years, the numbers of chiropractors over doubled in the United States, and it really helped the cause of chiropractic. Now, we're going to go several years down the road and talk about another big challenge that happened in chiropractic. That once chiropractic started to grow and become much more well known, then they started coming under heavy persecution because they were taking a big slice of the pie. And so you have the American Medical Association begin to take notice that chiropractic was becoming very popular. Today, chiropractic is the third largest health industry in the world. So in 1962, the Iowa Medical Society, so you think about the fountainhead of chiropractic was in Iowa. Davenport, Iowa is where the first school was. And so back when there was only one school, all chiropractors came from Iowa, and there was a lot of chiropractors in Iowa and a lot of chiropractic notoriety. So the Iowa Medical Society created what was called the Iowa Plan. And they created a committee whose statement of intention was to contain and eliminate the chiropractic profession. Now, they organized, and they had 5 initial strategies for how they were going to do this. One was to prevent health insurance coverage for chiropractic. The other was to deny workman's comp claims. They weren't going to allow any state-funded reimbursement for chiropractic claims. Three was they were going to make sure that chiropractors had no hospital privileges. They also wanted to discourage students from attending chiropractic school. They actually got literature out to all the high school counselors that was anti-chiropractic to keep students from wanting to go to chiropractic school. And the fifth one was they encouraged ethical complaints against chiropractors. So it really started. They started to have problems with practicing chiropractic. Now, the American Medical Association took note to what the Iowa Medical Society was doing, and they liked it. They adopted the plan. And so in 1963, just 1 year later, the American Medical Association organized a committee to eliminate chiropractic. Now, they named the Committee on Quackery, because they thought they'd get in trouble if they called it the Committee to Eliminate Chiropractic. So this committee became the working arm of the Iowa plan. All right. They added some tasks to the initial five-fold plan. One of their tasks was to disseminate anti-chiropractic literature to the media and to the medical profession. They were also to dig up anything that was good and positive about chiropractic and suppress it. So they did some kind of research and to find out what people were saying about chiropractors and why they were going, and then they put out whatever they could do to suppress that, to not only to the public but to the medical profession. They also threatened medical doctors that if they did any business, if they accepted referrals or gave referrals to chiropractors, they threatened them that they would lose their hospital privileges. So this was a pretty good threat, because when you're a medical doctor and you lose hospital privileges, that's pretty serious. So that was in 1963. Then in 1966, the AMA formally adopted a resolution that chiropractic was an unscientific cult, and they published that to the world. So now all this information that I've just shared with you comes from the trial transcripts that was gained through subpoena of the records of the AMA's Committee on Quackery. So it was pretty damning evidence. So what happened was that was in 1966, where they said we were a cult. So in 1976, some chiropractors decided we've had enough. And if they're going to try to completely destroy our profession, we're going to have to fight. So what they did was a guy named Dr. Chester Wilk, DC, and 4 other chiropractors got together and they filed a lawsuit. And they didn't just file a lawsuit against the AMA. They filed lawsuits against the American Hospital Association, the American College of Physicians, the American College of Surgeons, and the Joint Commission on the Accreditation of Hospitals. What they decided is we need to get people's attention and really take this thing. And so it really was considered a David and Goliath kind of undertaking. So you had 5 chiropractors against these 5 formidable, powerful organizations. So the trial, they filed the suit in 76 and finally went to trial in 1981. The trial was finally concluded with the chiropractors losing. But the attorneys for the chiropractors were pretty smart, and they appealed the decision and won a retrial on the grounds that there was improper jury selection, that there was some pandering that went on there, and also on prejudicial and irrelevant information that was allowed to be admitted into the trial. So it sounds like not that big a deal, but in jurisprudence, it's a big deal. So they were awarded a retrial, and in 1983, the new trial started. And now with the level playing field, the chiropractors won. And it was in 1987 that the judge ruled in favor of the chiropractors. So the AMA was found guilty of trying to contain and eliminate chiropractic, which is an illegal restraint of trade and a direct violation of Section 1 of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Now, the AMA appealed this decision to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court reviewed the documents, and they said, we are going to uphold the decision of the appellate court. We're not going to hear this case on the Supreme Court level, that the evidence is sufficient. So the AMA tried two more times to appeal it, and two more times the Supreme Court said, we're not going to hear this case. We are going to uphold the decision by the previous court. The evidence is sufficient. So the final time was in 1990 that the Supreme Court said, knock it off. So I don't tell you this history because I want to be a whiner and say, the AMA, blah, blah, blah. But what I want to point out is the reason that chiropractic has flourished and become so popular is really one reason: it works. So we've talked a little bit about the modern immune system in a previous. I really highly recommend that if you haven't watched that, to watch it. If you did watch it, rewatch it. The lecture that I gave, that I got the information from Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, PhD, and he got his degree from MIT, and he studies systems biology. He's a systems biology engineer. He's been studying the immune system. And it's really interesting to hear a PhD talk about the immune system and how the nervous system plays such an important role in immune function. It coordinates the function of the immune system. And so when somebody's taking care of their spine, they're taking care of their immune system as well. And so, especially at a time like this, when everybody's a little bit concerned about this virus, the key is to keep your immune system healthy and not worry. Worry does nothing but suppress immune function. So we've had several videos talking about what to do to boost immune function. And there's lots of research. One of the things that happened just recently is an organization attacked the International Chiropractic Association because they were saying chiropractors can't claim that they boost immune function because they have no literature to support that. So the International Chiropractors Association came out with a statement, and they had 14 examples of studies that prove that chiropractic enhances immune function. So we're still getting persecuted, but chiropractic continues to grow once again because it gets results. People get well and they stay well. The one thing that I love to see is people coming to chiropractic for back pain, and noticing other things that start happening. One of my favorites is I had a patient come just a few years ago that said, I heard that chiropractic improves fertility. Her and her husband have been trying to have a baby for 5 years, and they've been unsuccessful. And they said, well, we're going to go to the fertility docs if this doesn't work. And so we started adjusting her. She did have some low back issues. We explained to her the nervous system and the association between the nerves and the low back, and how that affects fertility. And it was very exciting that within 1 month she was pregnant, and very excited. Today she has a little boy, and is so very grateful. So chiropractic can do amazing things. And it's not necessarily that the chiropractor did a miracle, but that the human body is amazing. And when the nervous system is functioning properly, the human body is just amazing. And so today we're kind of we're seeing some of that same propaganda happening still today, where the media sometimes doesn't give the correct story. So there's a lot of people out there that are very scared about this situation, and there's a lot of things going on that are more political than they are scientific. I highly recommend that you, if you're watching the news, you take things with a grain of salt and try not to let the fear happen. I don't watch the news very often because I just get angry because I keep hearing the same things over and over, that there's nothing you can do, that we're just waiting for this vaccine. Please, please, please watch the lecture on the immune system so you can understand waiting for this vaccine is not the thing to do. It's just not the thing to do. It explains it. Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the MIT PhD, he explains very simply why it's not the answer. It's unscientific. They stand to make billions of dollars if they come out with a vaccine, and that's very important to keep everybody hysterically fearful, so that they'll line up for that vaccine and they can make that billions of dollars. And so, very important for us all to just take a deep breath, relax. There's so many things you can do to remain healthy. Vitamin D, very proven to be so good for your immune system. Vitamin A makes your cells less permeable to viruses. It strengthens your your cell walls. Vitamin C, very, very successful in helping with these things. You can study zinc. You can study iodine. Get your chiropractic adjustments. Everybody, let's stick together in this. Let's keep a sound mind. Please don't let fear and propaganda influence you incorrectly. Appreciate everybody that signed on tonight. Is there any questions?
Karen wants to know why did you choose to become a chiropractor?
Why did I choose to become a chiropractor? I actually was planning on being a physical therapist or a sports trainer or both. And I was actually wrestling with a roommate, and he hurt his neck. And he said, you need to take me to a chiropractor. I need an adjustment. And I really thought he was nuts because I didn't know anything about chiropractic. And I went to the chiropractor with him, and the chiropractors that we went and saw were very smart. They said, okay, you're not, they said, are you here to be seen? And I said, no, I'm just bringing him. And they set me down and said, here, watch this video. And so I sat down and I watched a video on chiropractic, and they just so simply explained how every nerve in the body passes through the spine. And when you take care of your spine, you take care of your nervous system, and the nervous system controls every function of the body. And it just clicked. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And I actually, next time I saw my counselor at the college I was at, I said, I'm changing from physical therapy to chiropractic. And he said, great, it's the same classes, you're right on track. So I took my prerequisites and I went to chiropractic school, and I've never looked back. It just made sense. I feel like maybe I was meant to be. I was called to chiropractic. Any other questions? That's a great question.
James Eisenbart wants to know if you think you can correct his spine. Is that a good joke you guys have?
Anytime a new patient James wanted to know if I thought I could correct his spine. The only limitation to chiropractic is time and matter. If you got the time, it matters. No, is how long will it take to correct? Depends on what matter I have to work with. So if you have extreme degeneration in your spine, haven't taken care of your spine your whole life, and you have phase 2 and phase 3 degeneration in your spine, Then chiropractic, correcting a spine is much more difficult, of course. But even in, I have patients that are 90 years old and have phase 3 degeneration, and they come every week and get adjusted because it helps them to feel and function better. So whether we can correct it or not, Jim, if I was you, I'd get an adjustment, help your immune system.
And what type of iodine supplement?
Lugol's. Go to Sprouts and ask them for their iodine. Iodine has been proven for over a century to work great on bacteria, viruses, fungi. It's just fantastic. If you want to look on Dr. Brownstein, drbrownstein.com, a medical doctor that has written a book on iodine. And I think it's called Lugol's, Lugols, like Lugol's. But look on Dr. davidbrownstein.com, and he wrote the book on iodine. And so here's a medical doctor that, and by the way, you can look him up on YouTube and watch YouTube videos of Dr. Brownstein, and they've been treating COVID-19 patients with great success, with no drugs, with supplements, vitamin C, iodine, and he has some great stories. I just watched him be interviewed just last week on them treating COVID-19 patients with iodine. Any other questions? That's good.
That's it.
All right. Love all you guys. Keep your heads about you. We're going to get through this. And don't let the media scare you. You're going to be fine.